So the big question is this: how are real estate agents like us, who didn't cheat and take on venture capital and are spending money from our own pockets, how do we compete with these billion-dollar real estate tech companies and iBuyers in a way that lets us bring our services and the things we believe in out into the world and still remain profitable? That's the big question. And on this podcast, we'll give you the answers. Welcome to the iBuyer Experiment. Hey, welcome to the iBuyer Experiment. We have a guest today. Keith
Guest
is
in the house.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Keith is looking younger today.
Keith is out with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, Epcot Center.
All right.
Lucky Duck.
Lucky Duck. And
Pun intended.
and we have Noah Neighbors.
Hey.
What's up, Noah?
What up, Noah?
Not much.
Noah, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at
Yeah.
Zoodealio.
Yeah.
Sure. So at Zoodealio, I am the main in-house and developer. I basically manage everything IT and help work on the software,
Boom.
Awesome.
including edit this podcast.
And he's got a last name Neighbors too. Neighbors, kind of like that's a real estate name.
It is. You were destined.
Yes.
Destined for
Too bad I
this.
don't work in real estate. Well, directly.
And for us layman, non-tech speaking people, that means he works on making things easier and efficient to use within the software, right?
Yeah.
Within your website.
Yes, I do code stuff.
Yes.
And he's a
Very cool.
digital native. This is a Gen Zer. So
Gen Z.
you're the very beginning of a Gen Z. When?
Yeah, I was born in 2000.
2000. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 20 years old.
Dude, my marriage is almost
Not
is
even
older
the
than you.
1900s.
Woo!
Jeez.
That is crazy, Noah.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint,
Graduated
we're
high
all
school
old
in-
enough to be your parent.
Yeah, I graduated high school in 2018.
Oof.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Making us look
That
old.
was the year I had my 20-year anniversary.
Wow. I love it, though. Such amazing perspective
Love
because we get to work with this guy every day and he's awesome.
Yep.
And I just, I'd love to get kind of your perspective on technology and what do you think that's going to do to real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at Opendoor, Knock, Zillow, and from the perspective of a consumer and someone that works in technology, I love what they're doing. I have to be honest, right? They're basically fast forwarding the real estate industry to catch up to what everyone else has already been doing, right? So you look at any other aspect of commerce or even financial things and investments is all done online. You don't need to go to a physical stockbroker to buy, bonds or stocks. You don't need to go to the grocery store to, get your groceries. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy your car online,
Yep.
and real estate's finally coming to that space, right? I think the reason why it's, kind of taking a little bit to catch on isn't so much because it's not a good idea or because people aren't ready for it. I think a big part of it is the generations that are more used to buying everything online aren't really buying homes yet, right? Like no one my age is on the market to buy a house yet, especially like in the market we have in Phoenix here.
Yep.
We can't buy homes in cash, and we certainly don't have $400,000. So we're not in the market to buy homes yet. A lot of us aren't even renting yet. We're either living in dorms or living at home still. And those of us that are renting are in apartments. And even all the way up to older millennials or younger millennials, they're still not homeowners. And I think once we start to get that threshold where younger millennials and Gen Z are buying homes, you're going to see a big spike in interest in not only Opendoor, Zillow, Knock, Offerpad, etc.,
All
Zoodealio.
online.
Zoodealio, but also any agent that can match what those companies do, right?
Right.
So
i.e. Zoodealio.
yeah, exactly. So like for me personally, I haven't stepped foot in a grocery store to buy my groceries since I think December. I just order everything online. Like I don't really.
pickup?
Yeah, I either eat out, right? Like I order things on DoorDash to the office, or when I'm at home, I have ordered stuff. Like I can order, dried noodles and drinks and canned goods. I can order everything off Amazon Pantry for the most part. Maybe I'll swing by the store, like a CVS, to grab like milk or something, but I'm not going into like a Walmart or Fry's
Or he orders burritos.
Badass burritos,
Exactly. I was
right?
going to say DoorDash today. I
Yeah.
came in, he's got this really cool big burrito, awesome, yummy looking burrito. And it's like,
That was a badass
wow, where is that? And
burrito,
he's like,
not awesome,
"This place."
yummy.
I was like, where'd you get it from? Badass burritos.
yeah, right. So that's my way of doing things, right? Like, and a lot of my friends as well and people my age, we don't have a hard set way of doing things. when we want to do something, we just look it up and we look at the first option, right? So when I'm trying to order food, I just open DoorDash and I'm like, oh, hey, that place looks good. I'm going to order it. I'm not sitting here like, oh, I want to get this one restaurant where I'm going to get this one thing, right? I go there every Tuesday at 3:00. No, it's like, I'm hungry. I'm going to order this thing. Same thing with Amazon. Like, oh, I just ran out of, Coke Zero or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just order it on Pantry. It gets here tomorrow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or even with my friends buying cars, they're like, okay, well, I have this much money and I qualified for this much of a loan, which I also qualified through the loan online through my bank.
Yeah.
I haven't left my room yet. Oh, I'm going to go to Carvana and, I can get this car and I can drive it around for a week. And if I don't like it, I can return it. Right? Like we're not going out to do things.
These are the people that are changing the world in
Right.
the next 5 to 10 years in real estate, especially because once they start buying houses, they ain't going to, you said this earlier, I'm not going to call an agent and have them come over to my house.
Well, paying attention to like the
Right.
trends that are coming in the future of any arena is the generation that's going to step into it. What's their needs, what's their wants, and what's their demands, and clearly your generation is speaking.
So you agents out there, you need to listen
Listen.
to this guy because
What about the agents that are out there and they're going, you know what, like 5 years from now is
I'm
so
out the
far
business.
away. That's
I'm
like,
going to retire. I'm retiring.
Well, sure. I mean, it's 5 years away at the current look of the market, right? If people my age start, gradually going up the normal way and we start making more money and we're able to buy homes. But if there's a situation like what happened in, the late 2000s where the market crashes and all the people older than us are getting foreclosed on and losing their homes, and suddenly everyone that's younger can buy the homes at a cheaper rate. Well, now the only people that are available for real estate agents are younger people, and we're going to want to do it online.
not going to happen though, by the way. Our market's not going to crash.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you never know what's going to happen. But even if
He's hoping.
I'm hoping. People my age are hoping, right?
Market's crazy.
Trying to buy a house. But I mean, even if it happens in the next 5 years, right? Unless you plan on retiring in 5 years, you're going to have to worry about it at some point. And the worst time to do it is when you're in the fire, right? You want to prepare for it before it happens.
That's right.
If you're the one scrambling to catch up with the times when the times are already upon you, you're not going to have a good time.
So how do you think that would change? I mean, you've been around us and you kind of know the inner workings of real estate very well at this point. So what do you look at and think to yourself, oh man, I'd never do that, or it would be so much cooler if it was done this way?
So I don't think it's just like the cash offerings, right? Like obviously those are really interesting and it just speeds up the process a lot. But it's even the traditional real estate transactions can be moved to an online platform, right? Which we kind of do in Zoodealio with the click to list, right? I think that anything involving real estate will eventually all be online, all the way down to, we're seeing a little bit already, especially with the pandemic. You have the virtual tours, you have things like DocuSign to sign documents online. There are plenty of people now that are even older that have bought a house from out of state and flown in and just moved in without ever seeing the property. And I think that's going to be more and more common. And these large companies had to do it pretty quickly due to the pandemic, and they kind of just set the standard for it. And as that technology becomes more available to the everyday agent, it's going to become more and more of a need, because if you can't supply what other people can, your clients aren't going to come to you anymore. It doesn't matter the relationship if someone else can offer a way better service at a way better rate. Because not only does technology improve the consumer's experience, but technology a lot of times also lowers the cost of a service or a good, right? So if your technology or software allows you to make twice the transactions with the same amount of work, all of a sudden you can lower your rate 25% and still make more money. And now not only are you giving a better consumer experience to your clients, but you're also doing it at a reduced rate. So no matter the relationship there that people might have with, my friend's a real estate agent. Well, I can offer you a 25% reduced rate and we can sell in half the time. And you don't have to leave your house. Right? Like there's no competition at that point.
Yeah, well, and when you look at, just really, like you said, the efficiency of all the streamlined things. I know it was Chris Smith when we had him last week on here, and he actually had mentioned the whole surge of, Vroom and Carvana and those types of things. And it's funny how long it takes a lot of these companies to get into like profit. Obviously we all know Netflix and going back to that, but you're right with like getting that adoption rate is
they don't care.
huge.
It's they know that
right. That's what I'm talking about.
The next generation is coming,
They're
coming no matter what, and
it's funny how
they want to be in that position.
Early they have to deploy though to try to meet the consumer where they're at. They're honestly making an early play, and I think that there's a lot of that going on right now too. Because again, they still claim Opendoor, Zillows of the world, right? When they buy a house to be losing money. Now, granted, I think a lot of that has to deal with how fast they're expanding, and I mean, again, a lot of that's up to interpretation.
Long term, 40 years, they're going to make a
Oh,
crap ton of
dude!
money.
Well, they're going to control the market, right? Like, and just like we were talking about with some of our models earlier, you know, and same thing with when they are focusing on, I would say, eliminating the average real estate agent, that agent that's going to do 3 to 10 deals a year, right? Like everybody else that's, you know, a practitioner, we all know they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
But-
so I disagree. I don't think that their focus is on limiting real estate agents. I think
Well,
their focus
okay,
is
fair.
on making a better consumer product, and a
making the
result of
assistant,
that will be the elimination
Fair.
of a lot of realtors. But I think Noah was kind of like, you know, kind of painting the picture out loud just a few minutes ago about how Opendoor is, you know, they're buying the house, they're making the mortgage, they're using the title company, their attachment rate for all of their other ancillary services gets to the point where they're able then to offer such a great deal, maybe even buy the house as a loss,
Right.
because they're able to then recoup money at other
Elsewhere.
points down the line.
They're able to say, we'll give you this for your house if you use this for the loan for the next one, use the title company,
It's
do
kind of
this.
scary though. At what point these people are also, like Zillow, for instance, they're also telling you what your home is worth. They're telling you what your home is worth. They're telling you I'll give you a cash offer for it. They're telling you they will make your mortgage on your next home. They're also telling you what that home is worth. Like, at what point do we like deal with like antitrust
question?
issues?
Well,
Yeah.
there's some checks and balances. Obviously,
Well,
there's
like
still going to be
what?
agents that are listing houses, and they're going to be on the open market. They're not
Yeah.
always going to buy every
Yeah, there's
single
still tax
house.
records.
There's always going to be the open market listing that goes on, and and people are going to look at that. Zillow's going to look at those. I mean, that's how they get their data now, right?
Yeah.
True.
It's based on an assessment of tax data, other agents recording closed transactions, which is obviously all sources back to tax record data.
Well, what I think is interesting and how I think real estate differentiates from something like stocks is the information is technically private. Like, obviously you have tax record data, but the real data
Well, some of those places are private.
Yeah, well,
For non-disclosure.
Yeah,
excuse
so
me.
the real data that a lot of real estate agents use, from my experience working with you guys, is actually the MLS.
Right.
And the average consumer can't get access to the MLS. They don't have a way to compare against, Zillow's estimate, for example. And that's the main reason people still need a real estate agent, is they're using them as more of a gateway to the MLS than anything. Right. So I think as these companies grow and grow and grow, if there proves to be some sort of, consumer issue, since real estate has a lot of laws surrounding the protection of the homeowner, we may see something where the MLS may be forced to offer a consumer portal of sorts, or there may be competitors that pop up that are consumer facing.
Well, some actually, like Houston MLS, it's like the largest MLS in the country, and they have a public facing.
Yeah.
So consumers can go on and search the Houston MLS. Like,
Wow.
it's open for them. So
Really?
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Houston.
Well, there's still a part of it, right? Like, let's face it. I mean, there's still for the practitioner, right? There's still an extreme need, right? Like the person that runs into a sticky position in an inspection, or it runs into XYZ contract issue, right? That the agent is able to navigate them for. I mean, again, I'm a huge proponent, of the agent being involved in the transaction when they are a practitioner, because of all that experience. You can't replace reps. When you have an agent let's just even say an agent that's been a part of 100 transactions, right? It's a decent amount of experience at that point, and you can't replace
100%.
that. That is worth a lot of money, right? Like, and especially when you're talking about the fact that through their advisement, through their skill set, in most cases, they can make you money, right? Like, I remember this back when I was a day-to-day practitioner with, and talking to homeowners. Like, in the event that you ever think I'm going to cost you money, I'm not the right agent for you. I am here to make you more money. Never should my fees cost you money. If you don't believe that by hiring me, I'm going to make you more money, then I'm not the right agent for the job.
Yeah, well, I think part of the issue too is, the consumers that are going to the Opendoor, Zillow, Offerpad, et cetera, at least from my experience, just from friends, family, things like that, they know that they're losing money by going to these companies.
They're not quite as
right?
profitable, yeah.
They're not, they're leaving money on the table. But
For
For
what?
them, it's like it's the convenience. Like there was someone that
Convenience for Amazon.
yeah, like I know someone that back when we were running Offerpad, that he knew that I
Yep.
knew a lot about these companies, and he reached out to me and he asked me about it, and I was like, well, I mean, their offers, they have high service rates, the offers are decent, but not nearly what you get on the market. Well, he just had a newborn kid, and he just wanted to move into a bigger house without having to do all the hassle while dealing with a newborn, right? So leaving money on the table was just the better option for him, right? So I do agree that having an
Control
agent,
the timeline,
even when you're
certainty of the deal.
even if you have, even if you're working with one of these institutional buyers, I do think there's, a really good reason to have an agent on your side, whether it's for contract writing or reviewing details or making sure you're not getting screwed over by these big
Yeah, they're going to
companies,
hit you in
right?
the inspection most of the time.
Right. But I think there needs to be either, something like Zoodealio where the agent has full control of the platform and is, there the whole time while still giving you these options, or there need to be agents out there that specialize in working with iBuyer consumers, right? Where they're bringing on a way bigger quantity of deals and basically just reviewing contracts, being there for the inspection, and helping you get through the deal with, Opendoor, Offerpad, et cetera, because obviously they're going to get a lower rate on commission. But if you have a bigger quantity, you can even make more money if you have enough of these people coming through. And, the referrals, et cetera, because, if you're selling your house with Opendoor and then you have this agent who charges you maybe a flat rate or a really low fee, but they help you, even go even smoother with these companies, give you that sense of security that you're doing things right. I can see that being, really, really good for consumers, right? Because they're getting the best of both sides, right? Best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, and
Like
I
an
think
iBuyer advisor.
Exactly.
iBuyer.
I mean, that's a little bit of what we used to do with
iBuyer,
Offerpad, right? We charged a 1% fee. We'd go to every single iBuyer that we knew, even local ones.
Yep.
We'd put them all in one place, and we'd go over the offers with you, right? Be like,
Right.
okay,
Advise you
here's what you're
accordingly.
looking at. Here's the net of all of these. The fees are going to be a little higher here. This offer's higher, but they're going to knock you down on the inspection,
Yep.
et cetera, right? And we're charging a low rate for that, and we're making sure you get the best best bang for your buck with the iBuyers.
So what do you think about our Sell Plus or our cash offer that we offer with leaving with the consumer having a little bit of the upside?
Yeah.
What do you think about that as a Gen Zer?
I really like it, but I think the problem that we're going to constantly run into is explaining it to people.
Yep.
Because
And that has been the problem.
Yep.
I'm more of a math guy. Like me and Jason talk about stocks sometimes at the office, and obviously, I have a little bit of computer science background, and math was my favorite subject in school. So it's easier for me to understand it. Plus, I sit in a room all day with four real estate professionals, right? So it's a lot easier for me to pick up on these. If I don't know what something means, I can literally be like, hey, Elliot, what is this, right? What is this term? I don't know what this means, right? And I had, I think Elliot had to walk me through the trade in plus initially like 15 times before I finally got it, right? But once I got it, then it was easy, right? And then I'm building a calculator for it, X, Y, Z, and I have the understanding of it. But I think it's really, really nice, right? Because you get the benefit of selling for cash, where you're going to move out quickly, and then you're still getting the upside from selling on the open market, and you don't have to deal with the listing at all, right? But
Yep.
the hard part is, you have some of the keywords here. I think it's even hard to explain it to agents, like where do I get what part of the deal do I get my commission from? How do I explain the escrow holdback to a homeowner?
Yep.
Right.
What do you think about the idea of explaining it like a consignment? Does that make sense?
I don't know what a consignment
I used to
is.
say,
See?
okay, so you
Yeah,
didn't know what
I don't know.
consignment
I don't
is.
know what that buzzword is.
Okay,
You ever
interesting.
consigned your furniture yet?
It's like we're
Yeah.
Consign's
we're old.
actually consign's an older term.
Yeah.
It is.
And I live with
It's
my parents,
absolutely.
so yeah, I've never bought property or furniture or anything.
It's kind of like if you were to trade in your car at a car dealership, and when they sold it, and they sold it for more than what they bought it for, they gave you the difference.
Right.
Maybe something like that, right? I mean, it's because people they can understand trading in their car, right? And
Right.
they gave you this much money,
But
then when they sold it, they sold it for more.
I
They give
think-
you the difference.
I think that it's easily understandable, but I think like the rate of that and escrow holdback is a little confusing. I like breaking it down into like really basics, and then it's just hard because obviously you have to break down the details at some point because
Yeah.
it's not
Which that
it's
we're
a
not
really
talking
big-
about the
yeah.
escrow holdback if you say something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Right.
But then you have to eventually go there because
Right.
sure.
they're
it's,
going to
it's
need
their
to know.
house.
Well,
it's
it's a
their
part-
biggest asset for most people, right? So at some point you
99%.
have to break down all the details, and that's
They're like,
where
what's
it gets
this?
hard,
It's the
right?
escrow holdback. You didn't tell me that. Well,
I told
Actually,
you
we-
could get the upside.
Yeah, and they're like, well, what's an escrow holdback? That sounds scary. I don't know what that is,
well,
right?
how could we make it not sound scary?
I don't know, right? And that's where, as someone that's not in the real estate profession, I don't know what kind of buzzwords are usable.
They use the word
Well,
upside, right?
it's all the convenience of an iBuyer and still getting the advantage of selling your house on the open market, right? It's literally the best of both worlds. That's how I've started.
That's the spin. That's the sales pitch.
That is
That's the
the
first
sales
part,
pitch.
but then you have to go into the details, and then with the details, that's where people go, what?
Well, and being that obviously our listener base is virtually all of them are real estate professionals. Again, I would say I was just talking to one of our subscribers a little bit ago, and I was like, this isn't the easiest thing in the world to explain, but neither is how do you explain how chocolate tastes. It's an experience, right?
Well,
I love when Elliot draws these parallels.
I know.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
like when he's comparing us to Instagram with our subscriber base, and I'm like,
Oh,
dude,
that's
stop. No, you
You just got to
cannot.
fit the feather in your hat, Kayla.
Okay, let's do it. Come on, Noah.
Take the
You
Ferrari out of the garage.
give us a list
Give it a
of
spin.
Elliot
so
isms.
when we're talking in a meeting, Elliot will be talking about growth, and he'll be like, we just got to put the feather in our hat and put the wind in our sails, put the rubber to the road, and grab the keys to the Ferrari and all this crazy stuff, and we just all laugh.
Take the rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah,
There we go.
He has all his little analogies when we're talking about growth always cracks us up.
I could just give you another one. What's chocolate taste like? Describe it.
That is so
It's an experience.
funny.
It's an experience. That's the point. And I think a lot of agents, once they experience it, it's much easier to absorb and appreciate.
Well, I mean, that's
It's
everything.
actually
right?
easier, right? Like our system is. I'm going to challenge that it's easier once you practice it.
To
Well,
explain.
Absolutely. Anything is.
Yeah, but I think the
No,
problem
meaning
is
the whole deal is easier. Like as a whole, it's easier.
I think a lot of it too is like a lot of our subscribers are pretty experienced real estate agents.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's really hard to forget and relearn.
Ooh,
right? So
yeah.
it's like I'm used to doing deals this way.
that's a really good
and
one.
this deal works in a completely different way almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just learning a new thing, it's unlearning the way you do something else. Because when we're explaining this, like, okay, well, what about this part of the transaction? And they're like, well, we don't do that. Or we do that at this part. And like, what do you mean? That's like a must do for a traditional transaction.
Right.
Right. And then,
how are you skipping over this?
right. So it's harder for them to learn it because they're also having to relearn something that they've been doing for 20 years.
No, that's a really good point. And I think the hard part is they've been doing it for 20 years and it's worked for them for 20 years and they can't understand. I mean, I remember talking with an individual just a couple weeks ago and he's just, he still can't understand how a seller would take one of these offers. And I'm going, dude, they are not in mass and it's still a low percentage.
Convenience.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Same-
I pay today.
Well,
I paid $5 extra to have someone drive me a burrito.
That's right.
While I was
I-
sitting in the office instead of driving 3 miles down the road to go pick it
Yeah,
up.
there's a
Right.
cost to Amazon. There's a cost to going
There's
out
not
to dinner.
though. Amazon's cheaper in
Well,
most places. That's
I
where
mean,
these companies
I
are
mean,
trying to get to,
our-
right?
Well,
to go,
Amazon
yeah.
isn't a good example because I'm sure, like, I don't
Well,
think
overall,
a lot of
there's
well,
it's arguably.
So no,
arguably
the reason
cheaper.
why it's not is because I'm sure a lot of listeners may not know this, right? Amazon doesn't make a lot of their profit from sales on Amazon.com. They make a lot of their money from AWS, Amazon Web Services. For 7 or so years, I think even longer, they had a monopoly on the cloud servicing market. Basically, Amazon ran the internet for a long period of time with no competition, and were charging per use instead of per month, and made a lot of money. And they still make a lot of money today.
Right. AWS is certainly huge, right, for the cloud
Yeah, I mean, we
services.
use the competitor to AWS, Azure by Microsoft, to run Zoodealio, right? Pretty much any decent-sized, or even a lot of startup companies now, Fortune 500 companies, anything in between, are using these cloud service
Yeah, one of the two.
applications to host their websites and software, whether that's AWS by Amazon or Google servers or Microsoft service. So a lot of these companies on the surface is like, well, how does Amazon make so much money, shipping stuff? Well, they don't. They do, but they don't at the same time. They make a lot of their money off of AWS, and they basically get to host Amazon for free because they own their cloud servers, right?
So back to the convenience. I mean, people like convenience, right? And I think there's also another caveat here is I call it the HGTV phenomenon.
Yes.
And I think a lot of home sellers, they watch this stuff, right? And they think,
So easy.
there's no way I'm going to get my house to look like that to get it to sell, right? And so they're so scared that they're going to call in a real estate agent and have that agent to come in here and go, yeah, we need to put new countertops. We need to, rip out this wall, repaint this thing, put some stuff here, make it all HGTV. And so they just go, you know what? My house isn't like this. I don't want an agent to come in here and do this. I'm just going to go to one of these iBuyers and get them to buy it, and I get to wipe my hands and go bye-bye.
No, you're 100% right. And in fact, there are agents, I have worked with them in the past, where they will literally shame people for the way that their house looks. And I think that's terrible.
Gosh, yes.
Yep.
Terrible thing to do. But I know what you mean, because I've seen that in action, and it's kind of scary.
Well, I mean, I don't blame it's terrible for the agent to basically force renovations on someone that doesn't want to do them, right? But at the same time, I mean, imagine if you're working at a car lot as a salesperson and the owner's trying to make you sell dirty cars, right? Yeah. It's a lot harder to sell a car that's covered in dust with rusty rims than a car that looks like it just rolled out of the factory.
Presentation is everything. I don't remember I'm trying to remember the book I read it in, and I don't remember the exact statistic, but I'll give you guys one that's like 80% of the sale is how you look and sound when you say what you say, not what you say. So I mean, it's a huge statistic, and they did their research on it. At least I took it at that. So,
all right, we're
anyways,
at 26 minutes.
Yeah, I know we got to wrap it up here. So,
well, thank you so much for joining us today, Noah.
Sure thing. Keith will be next week.
We miss you, Keith.
Bye.
We truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today on the iBuyer Experiment podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe so that you're notified when we launch new podcasts. We'll catch you on the next one.
Show you the money.